Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast. Right before we jumped on this pod, well, certain things were said. I don't think we can tell you all of that. But I did say to my co-host, Eric McLean, I said, I think you're going to be surprised by some of my picks this week. So I'm just going to put that out there, Matt.
Come on, KG. I will tell you this, too, because, our very high-tech production deal that we have going on here. When you went to clap to signify for our producer, Richmond Weaver, who does an unbelievable job, Rich Take on Sports, go check that out. When you were going to clap, like time slowed down and you were like this. And I was like, wow, this is so dramatic. And then it glitched. So I know that you didn't really do it that slow. Just wanted to let you know that. That was pretty funny.
I can be dramatic at times, as you know.
No way.
But I wasn't trying to be dramatic in that moment.
Good.
That was
Good
just lovely technical difficulties. I feel like the last couple weeks, Mac, me personally, you've been pretty good picking the last couple weeks. I feel like I have lost my way a little.
Yes.
My confidence is a little lower. I believe you went 4-3 last week. I went 3-4. So it's not like we're cratering, but I just feel like I've made some dumb decisions. So we're back into that mode where we're going to try to read Vegas here and figure out what the heck Vegas is thinking.
Are you leaning up in your chair, that video game meme, kind of tying the hair up? Let's go.
You have my attention. I can't let Eric McLean beat me in this contest.
I understand. I do want to say this, just kind of throw it out there, because it's not relevant for the podcast, but it is relevant for my mental state of mind. I am blowing the huddle out of the water with picks, just so everyone knows that. I am in first place by a long shot, so that when you take kind of process of elimination here, Kelly would kill all of us picking games. So I just want to throw that out there.
I appreciate that, partner. I think what it really comes down to is that iron sharpens iron. And
come on,
we talk about I know you do. We talk about these games every week, and so we push each other to be better.
That's true.
And Max destroying all those guys in the huddle.
That's right.
Which we love to see. I
think earlier I was thinking like transitive property, and I couldn't think of it, so I made something else up. So I'm glad that just came to me right before we move on.
That is correct. Good math term there, Mac. Good math term. I'm proud. All right, let's talk about some of these games. This is the only week of the season. This is from our guy, Brian Ives. This is the only week of the season in which all 14 ACC teams play a conference game. So we have 7 games, and every game is between ACC teams. We know that Clemson has already clinched the Atlantic, even though Dabo Swinney told them to take the trophy back until he wanted it. And UNC could clinch the Coastal this weekend with a win.
Hold on. Did he really give the trophy back? Does he not have the trophy?
I swear I saw that on Twitter. Did someone make that up? I swear he said they were going to present it to them this week or something.
Yeah.
And he said, no, take it back. Take it back. I don't want it yet.
Return to sender.
Maybe if they beat Louisville. I bet it'll be ready if they beat Louisville.
That's amazing. God, I love that guy. That is so funny.
I hope I'm not making that up and it wasn't like a parody account that I fell for on Twitter, but I'm pretty sure I saw it on Twitter.
If you are making it up, it is hilarious, and I hope that that's what happened.
Yeah, there are very few coaches in college football that would say, I don't want my division trophy yet. It's not really a thing. If UNC wins this weekend and they beat Wake Forest, Mac Brown will say, give me the trophy. I want it now. Give me the trophy. Do you think that our ACC, well, this is actually going to give away your pick.
Ooh.
Do you, no, I'm not going to ask you that. Let's talk about the games, because that will give away your answer for UNC and Wake.
That's right.
Let's get into our Big Three breakdown. And these games, in order of time in which they start, we will start with the Clemson-Louisville game, a game that no one thought would be this interesting a couple weeks ago. And now it's very interesting. Number 10, Clemson, facing off against a pretty good Louisville team, a team that's very hot. 3:30 on ESPN. Clemson's a 7-point favorite. And I think in order to talk about this game, you have to start with the quarterback situation. We talked about it a good bit on Wednesday and on Monday. It's what everyone in the ACC and even outside of the ACC, when you talk about Clemson, you talk about this quarterback situation. Mac, do you have any feel as to what you think is going to happen there?
Yeah, based strictly off of history, based strictly off of what I've seen, Coach Dabo Swinney do for a year and some change now, DJ will still be the guy. What's super interesting, and I wouldn't tell you guys this if I did know, but I would love to know, does Cade get any reps and with the ones in practice? Like, does DJ go Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Cade does Tuesday? Like, is there anything where, Cade Klubnik is getting one reps? Because I think that is important, that the first time that he does it with that offensive line, with that running back, wide receivers in kind of a live setting, a la in practice and team drills, is not during the game where, they're down 2 scores and something crazy happens. Hey, go get them, partner. Go figure it out. I hope that that's not the first time, if that's what Clemson is going to decide to do, just because that doesn't seem fair. And that kind of seems like we're creating some issues for the future. Like, hey, go in. You didn't do good enough. Get out. Like last week was really weird mentally, I think, for Cade Klubnik. So it's going to be interesting, KG, to see how they handle that. For me, kind of where you are. And you know what? I have been reflecting so much on some conversations that you and I were having about those first 3 games and how you need to find out who the guy is. And you were kind of saying, well, you can't really find out. And I'm like, well, if you don't, you're going to have to figure it out in the middle of the season. And here we are, and it's happening.
But we thought it was figured out.
Yeah, but did we, though? Like, after Georgia Tech, did we?
Not after Georgia Tech, but Matt.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
After Wake Forest?
For sure. But
that was game 4. But we all thought it was figured out.
What if it didn't even get to that point? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if Cade had already done it? All I'm saying, I've been thinking about that. You're right. Absolutely. He played great and has played great. But I just keep thinking back to, wow, this is so strange that this is happening right now. And so for me, what I would do in the situation that you're in, with the comments that you have given as a head coach on Tuesday that said, he's our guy, but if things don't happen accordingly, if things don't change, we have to give someone else a chance. That's the first time I'd heard him say that, something of that nature. And so to me, that's thinking, okay, the door is open and the leash that I hate is shorter. And so the margin of error is thinner for things that happen. And so what I would expect to see is DJ goes the first 2 series, regardless of what happens, Cade goes in. It's like everyone knows it. The whole world knows it. That's what we're going to do. And then maybe you do it one more time. And from that moment on, you make a decision. And that's the decision that we're going with. We're not flirting with it any other time. Nothing else is happening. That's what happens. Because I think that you get an opportunity and you get to see how does a guy react, when it matters. There's some rhythm. He's anticipating it happening.
That is so fascinating to me. And look, I agree with you for the most part. I kind of thought they would say, all right, DJ, you get the first 2 series. And if we don't at least score and move the ball, then it's Cade's. But you're saying it's going to be, at least, and this is just projecting, maybe a 2-2 situation. And so my question for you, Mac, is can you think back in 2014 in game plans you guys had with Deshaun Watson and Cole Stout? Not saying this is a Deshaun Cole Stout situation, but did you have a set plan where maybe it was the FSU game where Cole Stout would play 2 series and then Deshaun would play 2? Would you remember that plan?
I'm 90% sure. Again, a lot of contact to the head, but I'm 90% sure that we did do that. That it was a plan that we knew Cole was starting, Deshaun was coming in at that point of the game, and it wasn't oh my God, Cole's benched. It was, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to figure out kind of where we want to go. So that to me is it just makes the most sense if you're questioning it, if you're truly questioning it. If DJ goes in practice this week and man just blows it up, then okay, he's the guy. He's done great at times. And so for me, it's really interesting that Clemson's in this situation right now.
I'm not sure practice is the problem, though, because it seems that
maybe
the execution of the game plan, specifically against Notre Dame, was really poor. Okay, there's a lot more to this game than just the quarterback situation. I think in terms of game plan, and we talked about this on Wednesday, Louisville is so good at getting after the quarterback. You heard Keitrell Clark talk about it when he was on with us on Wednesday. If you haven't listened to that, go listen to it. They lead the country in a bunch of different categories when it comes to sacks and forcing turnovers, especially over their 4-game winning streak. In my opinion, you have to attack that. You can't be as vanilla. Do you see a world in which Clemson is as vanilla as they were against Notre Dame in this game?
I don't think you can be. If you run the Notre Dame game plan, I mean, Notre Dame looked good in space, like athletically. Louisville is better in space. You can't just go sideways and think you're going to out leverage them. Like you have to go at something that's attacking yourself straight at. Like there's no dancing. There's no east-west. It is north only. Like that is where we need to go. And for me, I mean, that'll be on full display if they decide to do that. And if it is screen left, screen right, dump left, dump, I mean, they're going to get lit up. And at the end of the day, that defense is flying around. They're being very aggressive. They're playing at a very high level and confident level. Keitrell Clark said, this is not a revenge tour. This is a respect tour. Like we're letting people know this is what we're doing. And all those doubters, we're coming right at you. And so it's, for me, KG, absolutely not. You cannot do that. There's no weather issues. The weather looks fine. Clemson has no excuse to push the ball vertically, instead of the inability to do so. And so I don't think that's the case because we've seen it time and time again. So for me, that'll be the biggest key. And again, when you are Louisville, I'm bringing it. Like I am blitzing every play. I'm overloading. I'm trying to confuse that young freshman at right tackle. I'm trying to make them make mistakes because DJ has shown these last 2 weeks or last 2 games they played, he isn't processing information as quickly. He isn't anticipating and throwing guys open. He's waiting for guys to get open. That takes time. That takes 3.5, 4 seconds, which that defense is, they're going to get there. And so you want to put in 6 in the blocks, we're bringing 7. You want to put 8-man protection, we're going to overload it and try, to really cause issues and cause problems. That's what I would do if I was Louisville defense, continue to be aggressive.
Yasir Abdullah, Yaya Diaby, those are 2 of the names you need to know for this Louisville defense. Abdullah has just been on a tear for Louisville. And I do think that this defense is one of the best that Clemson will have faced this season. And they're one of the more athletic, to your point, Mac. And so Clemson has to be ready for that. For Louisville on offense, they've been really, I think, feeding off of the defense creating turnovers, but also the defense giving them a little more of a cushion and knowing their defense is going to show up. And this offense looks more confident. They're having some playmakers emerge. And then you look at the Clemson defense, and weirdly enough, in a lot of these key categories in the ACC, Clemson ranks 7th, 8th, middle of the pack, kind of towards the bottom. This defense has been underwhelming, and I think the Louisville offense has overperformed a bit recently.
Yeah, and for me, I'll talk about the Clemson defense first. That has been the biggest problem to me. Like, I know, everybody's excited and wants to talk about quarterback. I know the offense is what it is. I expected there to be problems offensively with what I saw a year ago. I mean, Clemson, as you just said, far and away, was better than what I thought they would be offensively this year. Defense has been extremely disappointing, has been nowhere close to what we expected to see from a unit that seemed loaded on paper with star power, with some key guys coming back, especially that defensive line. I mean, we were throwing out best ever in college football, not just Clemson, not just the ACC.
Dabo was even talking about it.
Right.
That's what's crazy.
Yeah. And so for me, it's like, I don't know if these guys are reading their own press clippings, if they're listening to the podcast, what they're doing. But it seems like they kind of forgot that there's some work that goes into that there's some effort that goes into being that. And they've kind of, failed these guys a couple of different times this year. Wake Forest game, Florida State game, Notre Dame game, where they're not playing at the level that they expect. And so for me, if I'm Louisville, I'm running the football. I'm going right at those guys that maybe are feeling bad for themselves after what Notre Dame just did. I'm testing exactly, what they did. Am I saying Louisville's offensive line is as good as Notre Dame's? No. Am I saying those running backs are equally as good, if not faster? Absolutely. And so I'm testing that for sure and just seeing. Listen, Notre Dame ran a play called Dua, which is a front side double team and a backside double team 100 times. I don't know how many runs they had, but literally 90% of what they did was that play. They dressed it up and disguised it, but they ran the same thing over and over and over. That's what I'm doing. If I'm LT, offensive coordinator at Louisville, call it up, big dog. That's what you need to do. And then play action over the top if you want to be fancy, throw some passes with Cunningham, and, of course, run him. He's too good of a weapon not to. Yeah. But it's going to be fascinating just to see, KG, the mental aspect of Clemson, where they are. Are they going to be embarrassed and upset and want to prove a point? They're going to be feeling bad for themselves and get punched right in the face by this Louisville team that's feeling really confident.
Something tells me that Dabo's not going to let the second part happen, the feeling bad for yourself. There's just so much at stake.
I hope. He's not making any plays, though. I hope so.
There's so much at stake for this Clemson team. And sure. I want to start with my stat here because it tells you one of the many things that's at stake. And this is spooky.
Oh, gosh.
Saturday is the 6th year anniversary of the last home loss for Clemson.
That's not good.
That was when Clemson lost to Pittsburgh, 43-40.
Louisville fans are like, yes.
There's something about what is Saturday, November 12th? Is that what it is? There's something about that day. And I know, Mac, it's spooky and Louisville fans love it. All that being said, you're going to give us your keys. We might disagree here, but I just have such a lack of trust right now in what Clemson's going to do offensively. So give me Louisville +7. I think because of the home field factor and just you have to think Clemson's going to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think Clemson still wins the game, but I think it is so uncomfortable. And something else to keep in mind is that Clemson's undefeated against Louisville, and there have been a lot of uncomfortable games in this series since Louisville joined the ACC. Last year, as an example, that Clemson just found a way to win somehow. So I think they find a way, but give me Louisville +7.
The number is certainly questionable. The number is you're looking at it and you say, okay, how close is close enough? You know, how much is an uncomfortable amount? I just think that a guy like Will Shipley is not going to let this thing happen. I think a guy that is going to get in everybody's face. I can envision it now, him in practice these last couple of days and getting in those guys' grill and getting them going and riled up. So with that in mind, I am going to take Clemson. The key to the game here for me is run the football. Both teams. It's super simple. I think the team, and again, this is such a we don't cuss on this podcast, but a no-duh. This is such a no-duh thing about what I'm about to say. And that's whatever team can establish that dominance at the line of scrimmage. I truly feel that because you just control so much when you can do that. And if Shipley can get going like I think he can, if that defensive line has any pride at all and steps up and plays the way that they are able to, I think Clemson gets it done. They get their trophy. They get a clinch for real in the eyes of Dabo Swinney. And, everybody's feeling good going into next week when they play Miami.
This game is just very, very interesting. I can't wait to see it unfold. Okay, the next one in our big three is a 7:30 p.m. game on ESPN2. Number 15, North Carolina, 8-1, 5-0 in the league, at Wake Forest, who's now fallen to 6-3. And Wake is a 3.5-point favorite in this game. This game is in Winston-Salem. I think that's very important here. And the total's at 77 because it's North Carolina Wake Forest. I mean, come on. Of course it is. Now, Mac, you at first, you don't love this line. Do you have some thoughts on what Vegas is trying to do here?
You know what? I think I kind of wrote this down wrong. You see what it is. I think actually Vegas is on our side. I think Vegas and ESPN are trying to give Drake May and the Tar Heels this unbelievable underdog victory where he has to get the dub and it propels him into the Heisman discussion, into first place because he's already there. And so for me, I don't see how in the world, if you've watched any football in the last 2 weeks, how you think that Wake Forest is favored over North Carolina. Yes, ma'am, your hand is raised. I pick it up.
Because North Carolina's defense is that bad. This is every team that UNC plays, they are their get-right game offensively. Virginia found a way to become an offensive juggernaut against North Carolina. Oh, no. That is concerning, Mac. Yeah. That is concerning. Notre Dame's whole comeback was started by North Carolina because they couldn't stop them.
It's all the defense's fault.
And, and I do think this game being in Winston-Salem is a lot different for Wake. Now, UNC is great on the road. They're 5-0 on the road. That's incredible. That's amazing, considering they didn't win a single road game last year. But Wake being at home, Sam Hartman being at home, I think that's a factor here.
I certainly think it helps. And, that tough 2-game road streak or road trip, 2 L's in a row, 2 very uncharacteristic days by Sam Hartman. I mean, coming into those, I think he had 3 turnovers total for the season. coming out of it, he's got like 11. I mean, it's just it's unbelievable to see what happened. It's not that quite that much, but it's a lot. So I definitely see it.
Oh yeah, he's at 9 now. He's at 9 turnovers.
Yeah,
now.
so close. I'm close. So he had 6.
Yeah.
So he doubled what he had done. And it's fascinating to see. So let's start with North Carolina, looking at what they do. I mean, Drake May. None of us can talk about it enough because it truly is so impressive. The talent that he has, the ability, the natural leadership. I mean, we spoke to him, and just to see how young he is, but at the same time, he's just a killer. And the attitude that he has moving forward it's been really fun to see with his accuracy, his hand talent, the way that he can throw the football at awkward angles with his arm and still just deliver time and time again. Kind of sees, things before they're happening and gets the ball where it needs to be. So for me, it's just he's playing at such a high level that I can't picture how they're going to lose because he's just that good of a player. I think one thing that drastically needs to improve is the run game around him. Like
correct.
Everybody. And where the heck did my guy go? Marion Hampton, my brother.
I know. Because the older guys are hurt, though. The older guys, those injuries have hurt them.
And, kind of things that you hear and see, it's that maybe he doesn't understand pass pro and he's not doing the things necessary, so they're sitting him down and putting other guys in. But, man, just hand it. Let him run it left or right. Like, don't make it hard for him. Just give him the football. He's so talented. And I think that's really missing because now what you're relying on is your big quarterback to be such a big piece of the run game. I'm looking at their like leaders for each game, and Drake May's showing up way too much in the running game. There needs to be other guys that are doing that for North Carolina. Just let him sit back there and throw the football. With that said, he's a great athlete, and anytime he takes off and run, it's a problem. So for me, it's going to be interesting to see, just defensively, how do they try to attack Wake Forest? Because they can't
replicate. What should they do, Mac?
Well, they just can't. I mean, the biggest thing is to get Sam Hartman on the ground, and North Carolina does not do that. Every edge rusher they have is hurt or out for the season.
Exactly.
And so what do? I'm putting a speedy guy on the left tackle, and I'm trying to wreak havoc. Other than that, KG, I'm not sure. Try to get your hand on the football, I guess.
Wake has been decent before the skid of forcing turnovers. And that's where something could happen, but Drake May's also been so good at taking care of the ball. But I also think, UNC's been pretty good at forcing turnovers too. And Sam Hartman's out here just
giving it away,
chucking up grenades and seeing where they go.
Not grenades.
I know that, that's what it feels like. I know that November has been rough for Wake. It's not a happy time for many Deeks, especially this November. Do you feel like it's just hard for me to say Sam Hartman is done? Like I can't count out Sam Hartman because of how good he has been outside of the last 2 games. Now it is concerning that he didn't really have a bounce back game. I would say he had a bounce back first half. The second half was rough. Yeah. And we talked about this on Monday. There were a few picks that are like, bro, you can't make that. Yeah. It wasn't a tip. It was just a terrible ball. Yeah. So where he is mentally is a huge question mark. There's something about it's just hard for me to believe that Wake's going to lose 3 in a row.
Right. It's nuts to sit here and think about it. And just honestly, when you look at Sam Hartman's game, like when he is on, he is so good. Like the throws that he can make, the decisions that he makes. I'm not sure there's many people out around the country that can do that. And even after, he throws 3 picks, 2 of them really, really bad, he's fighting for his life and throws a dime to A.T. Perry. Like one of the best passes I've seen all year, on the run, drops it, hits him literally in the face mask, and just perfect in the back of the end zone. And I'm just sitting here like, when it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it is bad. And so how can you get out of that? How can you kind of get the rhythm of the offense? I do think it will be interesting to see, because North Carolina just cannot get pressure like that, like these other teams that he has played. Is that a bounce back? Is he going to be comfortable sitting in the pocket, moving up as close to the line of scrimmage as he can, and then throwing a bomb to AT or Banks? You've got to see that. I hope we see that. He's a good enough player where he has to get Wake Forest back on track, but isn't enough. I don't know. It's crazy to sit here and question that when these receivers are so good. Wake Forest can score or could score at such a high clip, and now I'm just questioning what are they going to be able to do because of the last 2 weeks, what I've seen from them. I don't know. It's going to be fascinating. The key to the game is protect Sam,
Okay.
And the key to the game for North Carolina is run the football without your quarterback. I think if each can do that, then it's a really, really interesting game. Because if you remember a year ago, we saw North Carolina run it like crazy. I mean, they were running that football at a super high clip, doing the things necessary, and quarterback play was what it was. But Drake he just can't do it all. He physically can, but you don't want him doing that.
Well, and now it's been 2 years of UNC really relying on QB run.
Yeah.
I know that UNC this year is more about the injuries. Your keys there, Mac, I think that Wake can complete their key better than UNC can complete their key. Here's what Vegas is trying to tell us here. Wake minus 3.5. UNC has been flying too close to the sun.
Yeah.
They're due. No. Their defense is not good enough.
I agree with that.
I think to go win this game on the road. I think UNC is still going to win the Coastal. I think they still are going to end up in a great bowl. I think Drake May is still going to be in the Heisman conversation. But I think Wake Forest wins this game.
Okay.
And I'm taking Wake minus 3.5.
And
I took Wake last week, and so did you. So I don't know why I keep doing this.
Maybe you're flying too close to the sun, KG. Maybe that's happening.
Well, not true, because I've been struggling as of late. I've been flying close to a black hole.
Oh, my God. Here's the deal. For the political well-being of the conference, for the strength of the conference, for the dignity of the conference, UNC has to win this football game. They've got to do it.
I don't think it's that drastic.
It's that drastic. If they lose, who is it? It's Clemson and everybody else. And Clemson, is what it is right now.
That's what it's been.
I know. We're trying to change the narrative here, KG. So these guys have to do their part. We need 2 one-loss teams in the conference championship. And so with that in mind, go freaking Heels. Do what you got to do. I'm taking them. What's the over-under? 77
I don't disagree
is the over-under?
with you. 77.
I don't think it's enough points. I'm going over. I think this is going to be nuts. I think it's going to be nuts.
I think it's going to be really fun. Like 50. Well, I think last year was 58, 55.
That's perfect. That's what I want to see.
Perfect. Mac, for the sake of the conference, it'd be great for UNC to win this game. I don't disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Wake's favored. I don't think this is a massive loss if UNC does lose. By the way, peep my Duke's Mayo bottles here. Is this not Carolina and Wake?
Yeah, it
right
is.
Here?
Let's go. That's
awesome.
Which one are you picking?
It.
You're picking Wake. Unbelievable. Throw that one out.
That's right. Okay, our final game of the Big Three. Number 23, ranked FSU. Thank you, committee. Finally, Florida State at Syracuse. Both teams are 6-3.
Yeah.
But the 2 teams are feeling very differently right now about themselves. This is the primetime game, 8 p.m. on ACC Network. Florida State's a 7-point favorite. The total's 51. Eric McLean and his bros are going to be there. And Mac tells me he's going to be trying dinosaur barbecue for the first time.
Woo.
I have had dinosaur barbecue. I said, go. You're going to love it. So I can't wait for your review of this game, or of the game, of course, but also the barbecue. Is this really going to be a game? I almost feel like the 7 is kind of a low number.
I think that the 7 is free money. I think the 7 is free money. But let me tell you this first. I am so excited to go to Syracuse. I wish circumstances were a little bit different. The Dome has been rocking.
It has.
All year long. And I can't wait to see it. But unfortunately, these guys are just on a skid right now, and they can't stop it. They can't get out of it. They can't help themselves. Defensively, it has been nuts. And KG, listen, after the Notre Dame game, after really the Clemson game, we said, you need to watch this. You need to pay attention to this, because stopping the run is very difficult for these guys right now. When people loaded up the box and say, we're bigger than you, we're stronger than you, we're going to run this football. That's what Florida State is going to do. The game plan should be very simple. Run the football, run the football, run the football. Like 45 plus times. If that's not what we see, either A, Syracuse is playing their tails off, or B, fire the entire staff at Florida State. I mean, that's what we need to see.
Little too soon.
Little aggressive. But that's just what we're seeing right now, and especially with how FSU has been playing at such a high level, running the football, throwing the football, offensive line. I'm so proud of those guys. I really am, because a couple of years ago they were one of the worst in college football, and now they're legitimately maybe the best in the ACC and playing at such a high level. I mean, they ran counter and power every other play against Miami. I mean, my man Dylan Gibbons literally
dominated.
Broke his face mask because he ran counter so much. It was twisted to the side because he's hitting so many guys with his head. I was just so impressed with seeing that. Trey Benson, listen, we told you way back, maybe week 2 or 3, he just looks different. And I know Ward is hurt. That's why he's getting some more burn here. But he's just a big, strong, physical runner. And, man, he left his footprint all over the Canes. I mean, he was running all over those dudes. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. Now, do they have the ability? Do they have the athletes? Yes. But I just don't know how Syracuse can adjust because they haven't shown me to stop that run. But you've got to know it's coming, 100%.
Well, first of all, Garrett Williams is out for the year. So there's one less athlete you have on your defense. Do they have the athletes in the back 7? Yes. Do they have the size up front to stop FSU? No, I don't think so, especially to your point with how this offensive line has been playing and how these running backs have been playing. And then, by the way, Jordan Travis can also literally juke you out of your shoes.
Right.
So I think the only thing for Syracuse here, Garrett Schrader, will he play? They've been so tight-lipped about that. We have no clue.
Right.
And Del Rio Wilson really struggled last week. If Garrett Schrader doesn't play, guys, I don't care. I do care because it's a big thing, but give Sean Tucker the ball.
Every time.
He's averaging like 10 carries a game over the last 3. What are we doing? At least pull a pit. Like, your quarterback's not playing well. Ride with your running backs,
Go
especially
Wildcat.
when you have one like Sean Tucker.
Yeah, I mean, it's baffling. One more thing I do want to say on the Syracuse defense before I move on to the offense. There's ways that if you're small and fast and aggressive, there's ways that you can make it difficult for an offensive line. Move around pre-snap. Like, do not let them get a target. Don't let us sit here and say, we're going from here to there. Like, that's where we're going. It's almost a chaos look, and I know that's time, but there's veterans on this defense. Like, you have to be able to do something. Stand guys up. Move, like, literally movement is so hard to target because you're going one way, defender's going another way. It's almost like crossing, doing anything you can to just not allow them to target, because if they can't pick you up, then you can make plays in the backfield. The one negative, though, is if they do guess right or if you guess wrong and all that thing's going the right way, I mean, you can get housed really quick. But it's almost at this point a gamble, KG, that you do have to take. All right,
interesting.
Going back to the offense for Syracuse. I don't understand it. I don't know why Sean Tucker's not getting the football. The shutdown of that should not be with Garrett Schrader being out. Like, it shouldn't make any sense. And if anything, we should see it doubling because Schrader's out, because he can't run the football.
Look at what Pitt is doing. Well, look at what Pitt did to you.
Yes. I mean, with a backup running back, by the way, not with their number one guy. So that's what's crazy to me. He needs to touch the rock. He has to touch the rock. And if he's hurt, which I haven't seen anything like that, then I understand. But I don't think that's the case. And at the end of the day, I don't understand. But this Florida State defense is feeling really good. I will never forget this play, KG, in the rivalry where we saw Jamie Robinson get in the backfield, hit the quarterback, kind of sling him down. The quarterback tries to stay up, and then he just yeets him on the ground and just stands over him. I mean, that's going to be a play. They're going to show that all the time. I mean, that's going to be one of the plays in the rivalry that they show because it was so aggressive. Those guys are playing at a high level. Syracuse, unfortunately, is not. It's going to be a tough one. So the key for me is, again, it's the same as the Clemson-Louisville game. You've got to run the football. Who can do it effectively is going to win this game. I think Florida State does it with ease. For whatever reason, Syracuse is hesitant to give Sean Tucker the football. I think Florida State runs away with this one. I take Florida State easily with the 7.
I agree. This is the first Big 3 game we agree on. Florida State -7. My stat is that FSU leads the ACC in both yards per play and opponent yards per play.
That ain't good for anybody else.
Look, doesn't get much better than that. That's really impressive from FSU. Okay, Mac, our speed round. We have 4 more games. Let's roll through them. Pitt is at Virginia, noon on ACC Network. If Pitt wins this game, they're bowl eligible. That's something to keep an eye on. Pitt is a 4-point favorite. Similar to Schrader, we're not hearing much about Abanikanda. I think we have to assume he's out at this point. But Rodney Hammond was so good against Syracuse. It feels like you can do that again. And UVA had a little bit of a resurgence offensively against UNC, but Mac, it was against UNC. So I'm not sure that this UVA offense is truly going to be able to do much.
Yeah, everybody, like you pointed out, has a resurgence when they play UNC.
They do.
I actually I think that Izzy's going to be back. I have a little intel on this. If that changes your pick at all, I wanted to get that on there. So it's fair and balanced there. That you have the same knowledge that I do there. I think they're going to continue to run the ball. I mean, it's just who they are, what they do. The biggest thing that I'm intrigued to see is just the defensive effort from Pitt. A lot like Clemson, I had way higher expectations for this Pitt defensive line. They have not met them. Maybe flashes in the pan they have, and at times, Deslin, Alexander looked awesome last week there, having 2.5 sacks, scoring, having a safety. And of course, my man in the middle there has done a great job. So just seeing how can they continue to do that? How can guys like Kalijah Cansey continue to build and really get that defense going? Brennan has been hit more than any quarterback in the ACC. To me, that's the biggest determining factor. Pitt gets in the backfield, has a party, and wins this game.
I agree. Pitt -4. I think that's the move here, as Virginia has been so close lately but has struggled to close out games. What about Virginia Tech at Duke, a team that's already bowling?
Yeah.
It's Duke Blue Devils. Duke's one of the best stories in college football right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're getting enough pub, but moving to 7-3 if they beat Virginia Tech at home, which I think they should. Duke's a 9.5-point favorite. Duke's been playing with a lot of confidence. They've been playing well. Virginia Tech, here's the number to know with this game. Virginia Tech has lost 6 straight games for the first time since Frank Beamer's first season. So maybe it's a good sign, Hokies. The Hokies have not lost 7 straight games since 1951. I don't know what happened in 1951. Seems like it was a rough year. But this is one of the roughest years for Virginia Tech that I can remember.
Yeah.
And I don't see how they get it done in Durham, Matt.
Yeah. Even though that's kind of a big number, it was double digits at one point. Now it's moving down a little bit to 9.5 here. I do want to say one nice thing about the Hokies before I move on to Duke. Their fans have been awesome.
Yeah.
No matter what. Last week, it was probably at 90% capacity. I didn't think anybody was going to be there. They were jacked up. They were excited. They were loud. It was horrible weather, and they were still there. Give this team something to cheer for, and who knows what Virginia Tech's going to be like. That already crowd that we think is this amazing 12th man, I think can take even more steps when they're playing really good. So with all that in mind, shout out to the Hokie fans. Hope that Coach gets this thing turned around because you deserve it. Looking at Duke, I mean, I don't know how Coach Elko doesn't get Coach of the Year. The only way I can see it being spoiled is if Mac is truly 11-1 and in the ACC championship. Don't know how he doesn't get it. So we might just cut the trophy in half, send one to Durham, send one to UNC. We could walk. It's right there. It's like an 8-mile walk. We could figure that out. But yeah, Riley Leonard has been the star of the show. 577 rushing yards. He is 4th of any quarterback in the entire country. He's freaking nature. He's been awesome with his legs. I think that continues. And I think the biggest thing is don't play around in this game. Like, let's make a statement. Let's get out and let's move on.
Well, it did worry me a bit because Duke played around with Boston College.
Right.
But that was also on the road. Duke's been really good at home, despite the UNC game, even though you're playing a really good team. So I'm going to take Duke -9.5. But their BC performance has me a little worried.
Yeah. No, I understand. I'm taking the Blue Devils as well. I think they cover there.
Speaking of BC, Boston College is playing at NC State this weekend.
Not good.
3:30 p.m. on ACC Network. NC State's a 19-point favorite. Here's what I'm going to say about this game, Mike. It seems Jurkovic is still out. Moorhead, the guy who came in for him last week against Duke, balled out.
Yeah.
Now, he looks great. And I thought he brought a new energy to this Boston College offense. Mm-hmm. I also think this is an afternoon game, not a night game for the fans at Carter Finley. This is definitely a game where you think, all right, we've got a lot more games coming up. This is just BC, whatever. NC State wins. Don't get me wrong. BC covers. You heard it here. Boston College +19.
Let me ask you if you've ever heard of this guy. His name is Him-J. Not MJ, Him-J Morris. Have you ever heard of him?
I have heard of him, Mr. McLean.
That's hilarious. He's going to be feeling good. He is not going to be thinking, oh, we've got other games to play. He's ready to roll, and he wants to dominate. Okay. This kid is cool, calm, collect. He showed that. He's able to handle the playbook in a ranked matchup at night. There wasn't a moment that was too big for him. So now, to me, what does that look like? they're opening this playbook wide open. They're confident enough to say, hey, MJ, from play one, it's all of it. You're wide open, man. The playbook is at your disposal. And I think one piece that may be a little bit underrated, I hope that Demi Sumo is back and playing because he's such a good player. But the running attack of MJ Morris is really, I think, going to help that run game. That has been lacking and very average in years past. That's another element. So with all that in mind, I think he continues to just dominate, show people why he's one of the more exciting people that we're going to be talking about coming up next year. I think NC State gets it done and covers.
All right. Let's say Cook, BC plus 19. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by that game. This is how you make these games interesting, people.
That's
All right. Our final game, Miami at Georgia Tech. Mac, if either of these teams wants to make a bowl, they got to win this game. So there are some high stakes with this game. 3:30 p.m. on ESPN3. Georgia Tech's a 1.5 point favorite. The total's at 44 because, geez. What do you think is going on with Georgia Tech's quarterback situation? Because Pyron actually played pretty well last week, but Jeff Sims is back and he's listed as QB1. Do you think it's going to be Jeff Sims?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because, these coaches, there's no rules on what you do in college.
There's no rules.
Is he injured? Is he not injured? Oh, he's playing. Actually, he's not going to dress. That's what Syracuse did with Garrett Schrader. He went through all the warm-ups last week as the one, went through everything. 10 minutes later, he's in street clothes on the sideline. I'm just like, what are we doing?
Why?
It's so weird. It's so weird. So maybe he's playing. I don't know. But I think you feel much better than you do when, Zach just ran out of bounds with no time left on the clock, and that was the last play of the game. I mean, he had a really nice game, 250 passing yards, 66 rushing, a couple of TDs, and it was the freshman of the week in the ACC. So I think you're excited about that. And you're also welcoming to town a program that is – the initials are MIA for Miami. It also stands for missing in action. Where are these guys? What are they doing? They're missing a lot of offensive linemen. Quarterback, we don't know. Tyler Van Dyke, I assume, is going to be done now. Didn't look like he was healthy at all, but that he wanted to be in that rivalry. He wanted to play in that game. But just at the end of the day, I don't think he was ready. So where the heck did the Canes go at quarterback? I have no idea. And there's a lot of excuses coming out of the camp from some of the coaches. It's weird. I know the future is hopefully, fingers crossed, promising, maybe. But right now, it's pretty dark days in Coral Gables. And I think it gets darker with an L here. I think Georgia Tech gets it done.
I agree, Mac. And I think Georgia Tech minus 1.5 makes a ton of sense here in Atlanta, because even though we have questions about Georgia Tech's QB situation, it seems like you have two good options, whereas with Miami's QB situation, anybody besides healthy TVD has just not been able to get it done.
And to me, I mean, if you're going to go with the guy, I mean, Garcia has been so turnover prone, and it's bad. It's like there's nobody in the vicinity, and he's throwing to the other team, and it's just, I don't know. Brown, there was a spark. He ran the ball somewhat effectively, I guess, that they feel good about him. I just don't know. There's way too many question marks in Miami right now where I think Georgia Tech, with all the passion, the energy, having the coach that you do at head coach right now, I think they get a way to get it done and get a big statement win.
And possibly, I know the rest of their schedule is tough, but if they can upset one of those two teams at the end,
maybe they can get one of those teams that's a 5-team bid. Maybe they can do that, because I don't think there's no way. There's no way.
That'd be fun for Georgia Tech. Good for them.
6 team, however many wins they have, whatever it takes to go bowling.
It would be 5.
There we go. Easy enough. Thank you. That's it, guys. Fun episode. A lot of big games. 7 all ACC teams are playing an ACC team. First time it's happened this year. First time it'll happen all year. So super exciting for that. But that's it from us. Go over to YouTube right now. Mash that subscribe button. So much fun to see those numbers and to see you guys. Go over to Apple Podcasts as well, the OGs. It's always fun to see you guys over there. We can't see you, but talk to you. But anyway, that's it from us. Until next time, we'll see y'all.